Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Underrail Expedition. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you chose to join me today as we talk to the shortists. Basically, that's short, and they're shortists. That's complicated, a little bit complicated to pronounce, but not tremendously so. So yeah, sounds interesting. What can you tell me about this Institute of Chort you belong to? The Institute of Chort is an institution devoted to Chortism, and was founded by Idine, who first discovered Chort nearly a century ago. Chortism is an ideology centered around Chort. It's a cult, a being that possesses and brings us immense knowledge, and is the key to evolving the human race to new heights, literally. Evolving is a figurative word. You can't use that word literally. Although, you can use the word heights literally. He smiles after that. Does he actually mean new heights? Literal heights? I don't remember this. So, which makes it good for the Let's Play, I suppose, because otherwise I would either be telling you what it means, which I probably wouldn't, or I wouldn't be commenting at all. But that way, look at that. What does that literally apply to? Scientific investigation lies behind everything we do. We study the creature in its complete genetic makeup and learn from it, and then we apply the knowledge in practice. Tell me more. Tickled your imagination? Good. No, I didn't. I didn't tickle my imagination. Don't worry about it. Chort exists as a physical being, observable, tangible, yet not able to fully communicate with us in its current state. But it gifted us with its flesh, and through scientific investigation, as I have already mentioned, we discovered that what was previously thought to be, quote, junk, unquote, DNA actually contained a genetic code that serves as a sort of a backup for the creature. Junk DNA is an actual term. You don't need to put it between quotes. Otherwise, you could put DNA between quotes as well, I suppose, or any of the words. The explanation is lengthy and requires a bit of time and will. Yes, please, I am fascinated. Glad you're finding it interesting. You know what? We hold lectures about Chortism here in Core City. If you want to learn more, come and attend one of these lectures. I think that's a more effective way to comprehend the subject. And he says the word proven, which I don't know what he means by, but still. Yeah, I'd like to attend the lecture you were talking about. Very well, or as some of us shortists would say, Apex. We'll be holding a lecture quite soon. In fact, if you wait just a bit for others to arrive, we will be able to begin. By all means. There were other questions there that I probably should have read. Maybe I'm not going to be able to ask them now. Thank you all for taking the time to be here today, for putting your trust in us in the midst of all that has been happening lately in Core City. The corrupted Faceless are known for ravaging everything they lay their dystrophic? Sure. Eyes on, and us Chortists know that very well. We have a long history in dealing with those monsters, and have always opposed their foul ways. We understand that during hard times, it may be very difficult to put trust in something you're not familiar with. Yet, amazingly, more often than not, dire situations are the cause for people to explore alternative options. Believe my words, during this lecture you will receive nothing but absolute, undiluted truth regarding the Institute of Chortism, and what it can offer to you. Let us begin. First of all, I feel it is important for me to say that we are not a religious cult. No, they're a scientific cult, which is a different type of religious cult, but the word itself sort of loses its meaning if you don't establish the word religious, I suppose, sort of loses its meaning if you're trying, if you, actually I said scientific, it's pseudo-scientific, not, well, in their case, well, it's complicated, it's a mixture, it's a cult, that much is certain. Anyway, Minister Percival says, we're not a religious cult as we are commonly accused of being. We don't worship imaginary beings, gods, devils, or the like. Or, which it should be obvious to anybody who knows a little bit about cults, that cults don't have to worship imaginary beings, gods, or devils, or the like. Also, when cults do worship imaginary beings, they're not imaginary to them, so they don't consider themselves to be cults, so it's sort of self-defeating anyway. But anyway, he continues. Our robes do not exist so that we may intimidate. Again, they're not wearing armor or weapons. This guy has been reading... I tell you, he has been reading comic books about where people in robes attack everybody indiscriminately. That's why they wear it like this. Or maybe it isn't, and they just know that it's apparently supposed to be intimidating, even though it isn't. They have a symbolic value, which will be explained later. Everything I tell you during this lecture is based on hard evidence, on research, on scientific investigation. Every claim here is backed up by careful and extensive research performed within the Institute of Chort, under the watchful eye of Iden, its founder. But what is Chort exactly? Chort is a single multicellular organism discovered by Idine almost a century ago in the deep caverns. Also, that should be a telltale sign that Iden is alive after almost a century. It should be in the deep caverns, but whatever. And is suspected to be... Yeah, it's like the Great Canyon. I was trying to come up with a name that... yeah, maybe New York is an interesting... is a similar thing. You don't say the New York, whereas you might say it if it wasn't the name of a city or a state or whatever. But you say the Grand Canyon, and you never say Grand Canyon. So I don't know. Anyway, this game misses its thes and its commas a lot, so it's fine. Whatever. Almost a century ago in the deep caverns, we're gonna go there eventually, by the way, and it's suspected to be one of the oldest living organisms in existence, a primordial being. It is completely formless. It exists in a... even though we were told that it has a form. So this word must not mean formless. It could mean featureless, if it's just like a blob. And it certainly sounds like a blob would sound. Chort. Just like I got a lump of chort over here. Completely formless. It exists in a state of regeneration, which it undergoes whenever the environment it lives in greatly changes, requiring a different form to survive. Idine discovered it during its current regeneration cycle, and the creature allowed him to study it. What he learned during these studies was truly magnificent. First, it needed to discuss the term non-coding DNA. Or first, I need to discuss the term non-coding DNA, sometimes referred to as junk DNA. Yes, also that he's correct in this, I believe. Non-coding DNA, in simple terms, is DNA sequences of an organism that do not encode protein sequences and therefore have no direct biological functions. For example, almost 98% of human DNA is non-coding, with only around 2% of the total genome being responsible for what you are, how you look, how you behave. Chort only 0.5% encoding, but there is a neat little secret. Its non-coding sequences serve as a biological backup for the creature to rebuild its coding DNA. If damaged by radiation, mutations, or simply... No, the commas. If damaged by radiation, mutations, or simply by a large number of replications, and... Wait. Oh, right, the sentence. The sequences allow the creature to rebuild its coding DNA and modify and adapt it for specific needs. In short, it can undergo a process of regeneration and adaptation until it builds itself anew and perfects itself for the world it lives in. Idine found this remarkable, but even more remarkable is the fact that this knowledge allows us to do the same thing with humans as well. The Institute of Chort was born with a single unified idea: to direct the evolution of the human race. Chortist ideology reflects just that. We will preserve Chort and the valuable knowledge it bestowed on us so that we can elevate ourselves to new heights. We live in a desolate world, and the environment is not our only enemy. Just look at the recent events, you will understand my point perfectly. The Institute of Chort gravitates towards adapting the human race to move beyond these dark caves and reach the surface. And that's what it meant, literally. Again, everything I just told you can be backed up with solid proven facts. Chort is evolution, and evolution is Chort. One cannot go without the other if we are to stop ourselves from our ultimate demise. You know what? I'm gonna side with these fools. I didn't do it in my first playthrough. I'm gonna do it now. I don't remember how this impacts the main storyline, though. So maybe I don't know. Anyway, but... Oh, but that is gonna go against the Faceless. I think in my first playthrough I sort of sided with the Faceless. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know. And with that, I will end this short lecture. I know you have many questions, brothers and sisters, and now that these questions can and will be... And know that these questions can and will be answered. To get to those answers, one would need to travel to the Institute of Chort in Upper Underrail and become a Chortist. Only then can you have access to all of the knowledge we possess and help us further understand Chort. To help not just us Chortists, but our whole race. Perhaps understand that Chort, or please understand that Chort is important to us, and so it is to you, and we must propagate this knowledge to all who are willing to listen. As Idine once stated, we can and we must. I hope you have learned some valuable information during this lecture. That is all for now. Thank you, and Chort guide you. I'm glad I had that. I think I had that conversation in the first Let's Play, but still. Chort is evolution. How may I help you? I wanted to talk to you about your lecture, and I can't ask about the other things. That's pretty good. Yeah, I see, sister. Tell me, did you enjoy it? Let's go with this one. It was rather interesting and really got me thinking. I'm very pleased to hear that. As I have already mentioned during the lecture, if you want to have unlimited access to our knowledge, you could visit us in Upper Underrail. Lines and lines of people stand in the Institute's courtyard, waiting to be accepted as members of our institution. While the competition is strong, those who possess certain traits will have an advantage. Please consider it, sister. What can you tell me about the oligarchy? The oligarchs allowed us to be here under their protection. We are allowed to propagate our knowledge uninterrupted, while there are certain matters regarding them which can be commented on. I'd rather avoid doing so. It would be rude to our hosts, in my opinion, which is a comment in and of itself. He's saying that his commentary would be rude to our hosts. That's what he's saying right now. Even though he's literally saying that commenting on his hosts would be rude, rather than what I said he's saying. But he's really saying what I said he's saying. Have you perhaps been to the Hardcore City Bar? I haven't personally been to this place, but some of my brothers and sisters have. It seems very devolved. They do it mostly to discuss Chortism, which with as many people as possible, which is understandable due to the popularity of it. What do you mean devolved? Well, degenerate, decadent, something that has passed into a worse state. It is a common expression among us Chortists. What I found peculiar, though, is that the missionaries absorbed several local terms there. For example, I've heard phrases like, "that's freaking hardcore," or "zone out," being uttered by them on a worrying number of occasions. If this trend continues, a certain form of intervention might be necessary. You understand, core city slang sounds very unfitting for a Chortist. I'm sure it does. I met one of your guys in Foundry, but he seemed pretty derailed. If he seemed derailed, then he probably is. I hope you realize that some madman's behavior shouldn't reflect on the doctrine of the group he claims to be a part of. If you want to learn about the true magnificence of Chortism, seek me or any other proper Chortist missionary. Well, I'll get going then. Chort guide you on your travels? Absolutely. Even though I haven't met Chort yet. but I might. We have Rick. Rick? Jesus, what? Aww, he's just saying things at me. What the heck is that supposed to mean? Hardcore arena clobbering was true. Yeah, I can't read what he's saying. It's impossible. Norman! I remember you. Somehow. The name, anyway. If not the person. You come up to an average height blonde man holding a real book in his hand. A real book? Do other people hold fake books in their hands? Reading it quietly, he is dressed in a stylish, high-cost suit while wearing equally not expensive, it's high cost. It might have been cheap, but at least it's high cost. While wearing equally fashionable shoes, all free of even a speck of dust. Meanwhile, his physique is as unimpressive as his gelled hair, seeing that an average South Underrailer can break him in two without breaking a sweat. Who's seeing that? What the heck? Considering, you mean? Considering. But shouldn't it be the other way around? Considering that his physique is unimpressive, or as unimpressive as his gelled hair, apparently his gelled hair is also not impressive, an average South Underrailer could break him in two without breaking a sweat. Yeah, that's how, yeah, he just wrote the whole thing wrong, and also, you know, not wrong, I mean, the whole thing the wrong way around, and the word is mistranslated. He closes the book, the real book, takes a brief look at you, and begins the conversation with an entirely unique greeting. Can Ho approach her? Can Ho? A joyful smile materializes on his face. Ah, finally someone who is not an uncultured swine. You speak Advatongue. Yes, you speakish Advatongue, yay? Yay. Okay, finally a person that speak... Oh, that's what that guy was talking outside. Finally a person that speakish Advatongue in Core City. All body here is using common tongue, soye, a time, beverage. What? I lost you. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. KHM. And for an instant I thought I found someone who comprehends me. No matter, since you're already here, I might as well educate you, if only a bit. Here now. The language you witnessed me using is called Advatongue, and it is a contemporary, modernized, and improved version of the language most of us use. Common tongue, as I will refer to it from now on. No, wait, the one that we use is common tongue, and from now on I'm referring to it as that. So, yeah. For, you see, I was feeling indisposed and exhausted of all the inconsistencies in how I express myself, a naturalness of common tongue. There's quite a lot of unnaturalness, yes. Thus I, Professor Norman Hack of the University of this, one day made a conscious decision... The comas, dude. The comas. Man, that's... I made a conscious decision one day to liberate some of my time, sit down, and do my best to ameliorate this stale mess. Oh, look at that word. Into one endearing, beautiful language. Much pretty tongue. It resembles the common tongue, true, but only to a minuscule degree. For instance, common tongue was a language dominated by exceptions to rules, relying on memorizing phonic patterns in order to maintain proper pronunciation, strict sentence structure. I could go on and on. All this has been evicted in Advatongue, for the whole language has been standardized and tuned toward absolute consistency in every aspect imaginable by me, creating a clearer, more natural lingual experience free of ambiguity. Much pretty. There is so much more to speak of it, but first I'd like for you to tell me why you're here and what you want from me. Yeah, I noticed the guy outside also speaks Advatongue. Ah, yay, Rick Gentleman. He's my student and a bright young man. I must say I started teaching him shortly after I had arrived to Core City. After I arrived to Core City. At Core City? Yes. Arrive at is the Arrive 2 doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure, but yeah. Anyway, I rented this, how to refer to it without making it seem better than it actually is, space here, and I put up an Advertung course ad. Rick Gentleman was the first one to respond to the ad. He was the only one to respond to the ad. He clearly realized the importance of Advertung, unlike other denizens of this linguistic cesspit. I mean, even despite my disapproval of Common Tongue, the things I have heard here made my ears bleed and my mind wail in agony. Being hammered in the head with, quote, hardcore, unquote, and, quote, dominating, unquote, every 2 seconds is only the beginning of the story. Pipe worker, atrocity. He didn't use quotes for pipe worker, but anyway. Advertung as an official language of, well, even a station, let alone a region, will have to wait. However, I hope that goal will be achieved one day. If that means teaching one student at a time, then I better persevere. Can you teach me a few Advertung phrases? You wish to learn a few phrases? Wonderful. It is my aim to proliferate the number of Advertung speakers, as you may have already deduced. What phrases are you interested in? Hello? That is an easy one. It's can-ho. You already heard me say that one when we met. Be careful. A in can is pronounced like A in cargo, which is can-ho. He's also not... Well, he's not telling me any other thing. How do you pronounce the N? Though, if we're gonna have, like, such different pronunciations of words, which you'd sort of expect in the language, a language that he's making up just so he doesn't have to suffer the exceptions of the common tongue. It needs to be pronounced, like, it would need to be pronounced differently. But he needs to tell me how to pronounce the N, because kang could be a pronunciation, or kan could be a pronunciation. There could be many rules. So it's can, which is like, sounds like a Jamaican person would pronounce can, or I know there's is it Australian that also pronounces can? Yeah, I think so. Maybe. Anyway, let me know in the comments. I'm not a native speaker. Accents are very difficult for me. What about goodbye? Gah, it's a pretty simple word. Gone ho. It is quite similar to can ho. Naturally, you could also use a more complicated phrase like observant you sockloss, which is most similar to see you around, or you could even say gagon, which is unique to Advertung, as opposed to observant you sockloss, that apparently is shared with other languages. Sure. Anyway, it's a word that expresses a happy goodbye. Ta-ta? Is ta-ta a happy goodbye? You look very nice today. Let's go with that. Oh, yay. That one is, you appear much prettier. It is a beautiful language, isn't it? Courtesy, or mengud, is the foundation of Advertung. Should you decide to learn more about the language, you would realize that it contains countless words which do not exist in Common Tongue. All of them, because they're different words. It's like, what, you don't have, you could have shared words, and I think it probably does. But, like, what share, like, thinking of Portuguese, whiskey is a good example. Whiskey is a shared word between English and Portuguese. That's literally what it's called. It's a shared word. It's also an Anglicism, and but that's another thing. It's another type of another category that you can put that word in. But at least if you're talking about it from the Portuguese perspective, but all the words are different. Words which allow that. You see, this game actually does this. There's some games that do it, and I think I'm not really sure. This doesn't feel right. In my mind, which is used to refer to the whole group of the denominator. So when you say words which allow you to convey gently, or whatever the enormous sentence is going to be after, you're saying that all words allow you to do that. Whereas when you say words that allow you, you're using the word or the that takes place of the what. The old school type. You could say words what allow you, which is an old school type of way of saying it in English, but it's a different word. It means different things, I believe. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if I read about which specifically, because I remember reading into this particular word. But when you say words that allow you, specifically saying that not all words, just the ones that allow you to do that. You know what I mean? Anyway, he says, words that allow you to convey gentility and refinement in many beautiful ways. Afterwards, once you finally look back at the language you used before, it will seem like you had been outright cursing with pretty much every word you uttered. It will make you feel like a peasant. Now, I'm not gonna... These are like, I'm not gonna... how would you even say that? Like, that's made... It's like a language that's made to be written differently but sound the same. Which, it makes sense, because this game is not voice acted. If it were voice acted, it probably would be the opposite. There'd probably be words that are written the same, but they're pronounced differently, because that's the difference between a game that's written and a game that's spoken out. But we're out of time for the day, so I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Underrail Expedition. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later, but above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.